Hello, I'm Jack Rickard. This is EVTV. I'm here with my co-host and collaborator, Brandon.
Hey, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. I've been hearing all week how happy people are to see you again.
They just never learn.
Are we going to play electric vehicle television again?
I think so. I think we ought to do that. I think we ought to do that
Titillate
again.
us with tales from the inter-ether.
Let's see. What's the most fun? Well, it is Friday, and we did have a press release by a press conference by President Obama today at the Argonne Laboratory up in Chicago. Yeah, and they fleshed out some plan to do a like an energy. What do they call it? Like a trust fund, I guess. And try to get a couple $2 billion in there if they could get Congress to approve that.
Apparently, they get about $2 billion a year, some amount per year, on offshore leases.
Oh, is that what they want to use to fund it? Oh, okay.
That's where they're getting the money.
Okay.
And he wants to use it for things like the 5x5 program, which they characterize as a Manhattan Project for batteries,
Okay.
led by scientists instead of friends of Obama's campaign. And I am in support of that program. Argonne and some universities up there, Champaign-Urbana, University of Michigan, University of Chicago, some others got funded $120 million to build a new facility and do some of this, and I think it's a great idea. It's much improved over the Department of Energy of find bankrupt companies and give them hundreds of millions of
funnel
dollars
money in there
quick before they go bankrupt.
That's right. That's right. Stop before you go out again.
Like A123, Interdell, Azure Dynamics. Interdell, think it went bankrupt, was bought by a Russian, so was Interdell, same guy. I was approached this week. They were trying to remainder 70 Think battery packs.
Oh, that didn't quite get in any vehicles?
Well, yeah, and they were 346 volts, had been laying around 18 months and had no warranty.
Oh, okay.
I did put in a bid, thinking I could get you all some lithium for the price of lead. Well, they didn't like the pricing.
They didn't like the price of lead.
They're going to continue to try to market those.
We may hear from them again.
I hope not.
You feeling better that they didn't take the offer?
You know, Brain, I don't mind doing this. I kind of see us in a developing role with a lot of these liquidations that we can go in and write a check, or viewers can't.
Right.
Get the stuff and get them OEM quality components. And, at kind of the price that the OEMs are paying. And some weird things happen. Once we do that and demonstrate we can sell them, then the companies that make them all of a sudden want to talk to us.
Right, then they'll want to find us.
The Borg Warners and the Siemens and so forth. Bruce's. Oh, you sold 35 of them.
That's right.
You think you can sell 35 more?
We forgot to tell you we had a bunch of them laying around.
We forgot to tell you about the OEM exception rule.
That's right.
If you're like really overweight and you drink a lot in Missouri, technically if you can sell 35, you're like an OEM, but not really an OEM.
We'll at least make you a major account.
We'll make you an account.
That's right.
And if your check clears, you can buy more.
You buy some more. That's right.
And so, but we have to be somewhat selective. I can see that with motors and gearboxes. A little bit less so with orphan controllers that we have to do product development.
Yeah, do a lot of development with.
We just can't be 7 things at the same time. But batteries, they've got them glommed up with all this BMS stuff, useless things to cool the cells. You need to warm your cells, not cool them. I really like the cow cells.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
gotten used to them and we understand them.
Yeah, and they've been very good to us.
And they're physically robust.
Yeah.
And the package is, you can drop it, you can throw it on the ground. It's okay. Don't overcharge it.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the rule. Don't over discharge it. That's the other rule. There's only 2 rules. Everything else is how to keep you from doing that. And in truth and in fairness, that's what a BMS is.
Sure.
To keep you from over discharging and overcharging.
Right.
More automatically. Good concept. The problem is, in practice, the semiconductor devices they use to do that are not as reliable as the batteries.
As the battery itself, or the chargers most of the time.
So
yeah.
It's kind of like paying the wolf to watch the hens, in a way. and so we just haven't. We started out in search of the BMS and gradually evolved to, we don't need no stinking BMS, but. I mean, I can still be wooed by the right magic device. It's just that we've developed some techniques to not over discharge and not overcharge and not have BMS at all.
Right.
But I'm very comfortable with the cow cells and the Chinese lithium cells. And if that format would kind of catch on, then we could replace them. One thing I do envy Tesla is they have a module that they can just plug in like silver bullets, the next version of the 14440.
Right, as they get better.
If everybody would essentially adopt the same prismatic form factor, put however many amp hours you can in it.
Sure. Doesn't matter.
I don't even care about the voltage. Just make it physically the same so it fits in my box and my straps work with it.
Yeah, then we're fine, yeah.
So I'm a little reluctant to take on a whole technology system around this guy's BMS and so forth to learn and be able to support a battery pack I got 70 of.
Right.
That we can't get again, and
don't plan on it.
Batteries themselves.
Yeah.
Simply because I can do it cheaper.
Right.
And so liquidation in batteries is not really what I'm after.
Right. Yeah.
Motors, controllers, DC to DC converters, chargers, transaxles, that's all cool beans. But I don't. So that's the Interdell thing. There was something actually you came up with, A123, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on the Law 360 website from this week that they had, that A123 has slashed the projected returns for the unsecured creditors under its liquidation plan in half from, I believe it was like 65% to 32%. And this came on the heels of something else that happened this week, that Henrik Fisker is not Fisker anymore.
Fisker claims that A123, who had acknowledged a $59 million recall.
Right.
Well, Fisker claims that they're damaged to the tune of $212 million, which is what you do in bankruptcy court. Now, what's that percentage times $212 million?
Oh, 32% times 212 million?
Yeah, it's about $70 million.
About 70 million,
so they'll
yeah.
get more than actually the $59 million. That's the real number.
Yeah.
By being damaged.
By being in half.
If they get 37%, they'll still get more than what they actually lost.
Yeah. It's good work if you can get it.
The recipe. And so, but will Fisker make it now?
Yeah.
A123, this is a bankruptcy, and they're being bought. You know that?
Yes, that makes it a little bit interesting.
My pay grade, what the court approves and what it doesn't.
Right.
When you have a sale as part of the bankruptcy. But bankruptcy is a haircut. When GM went bankrupt, all the people that had GM shares lost everything.
Right.
Everything. And it wasn't 6 months after they got bailed out of the bankruptcy that they had an IPO and had new shareholders.
Him with the old out.
And the old shareholders got nothing. I mean, this is what happens. And so these are are bitter things, but it's part of a cycle of life. Companies fail, and their stuff. We pick up the motors cheap, sell them to you cheap. You go start another business. See, there's losers, but there's also the nutrients in the forest every time a tree falls for new plant lines.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
And so this is why central planning of an economy is impossible. It's actually a very rich, bubbling cauldron of activity that, when somebody loses, somebody else wins. They were able to get a robot or a Yumi plant they could never afford.
They couldn't get rid of, yeah.
At 10 cents on the dollar. And this is what Tesla did. They bought a $350 million plant for $50 million.
Yeah, it was just going to sit out there in Fremont for a while.
Well, it had been sitting for a while, but it's a brand new plant.
Yeah.
And so this is part of the cycle of life of innovation. And I'm all on board with it, but Henrik Fisker is apparently not, because he's fallen out with his executives about the future direction of the company.
Oh, right.
And resigned. And since they had 2 or 3 CEOs in the last year, there's nothing left here, guys. We may not have anything to go in and liquidate, but
no cars, no batteries.
Here's some losers. Here's a bunch of people, not a bunch, but 1,500 or so people out there with Fiskers with no support, no repair. Nobody even knows anything about them. What are those cars going to be worth when? Who knows what about fixing them?
I'd just sell mine straight to a museum. I don't even know what to do at this point.
Actually, that's probably your best cash move, if you can get them to do it, is donate it to a museum at full purchase price and take the deduction.
That's right. Just get it over with.
Because it's probably more than you'd get.
That's right, out of the car. Yeah.
And so that's thing. Again, if we could figure out how they work, and here's an opportunity for somebody to go get a Fisker, take it apart and put it back together about a dozen times. When you get done, you'll know how to work on Fiskers, hunt down all the sources of the parts, and there are 1,000 of them out there easily that are going to be looking for somebody to fix their car.
Right.
And so that's a whole area of opportunity for a small entrepreneurial type guy. Master the Fisker, and you the man. And so, that's part of the cycle. But I would expect Fisker will be gone. I think Fisker and Coda are not even walking dead. They're falling dead. We're waiting to see how many times they bounce. What else
happens? Let's see. What
jiggle when they hit the ground.
Yeah, how far can a giraffe fall before it hurts itself?
Yeah. Right.
Let's see. Some of this has nothing to do with electric vehicles, but I like to bring some weird things out there. I do want to know where the 8,300 dead pigs floating down the river in Shanghai came from.
8,300?
As of today, another 800 pigs showed up in the river, one of the 5 rivers that supply the water to Shanghai.
Well, I know where they came from.
Pig farms?
Upriver.
They did. They certainly did. What is happening with the pigs?
What's with the pigs?
The pigs? That's a lot of pigs.
So, are these pigs dying of natural causes? Is there a bunch of pig harikari going on?
I don't know. Yeah, little pig wars we don't know about.
Wars,
yeah, flying pig. They're trying to fly and they can't. So what? I don't know.
One pig herd against another.
Yeah.
Gory
pitched battle. That's right.
Yeah, pitched battle.
Yeah, that's right.
The rivers
porcine battle. The rivers
with
porcine blood.
Well, I don't know, but I hear this may be related.
Okay.
Nissan is going to get a huge investment from the Dongfeng Motor Group Company of 2 billion yuan.
Really?
Which is $322 million in the project. They're going to build a factory in the Guangdong province, which is where BYD does their E6.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to build Leafs and another car what is it called? Oh my goodness, I had the name here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venusia.
Venusia. Oh,
Yeah, the
that's
Venusia is what they're building there now, and Nissan is going to become part of that and build Leafs in China.
Okay. Okay.
You were telling me something about the Chinese uptake of electric cars.
Yeah, we were. And from what I can see too, that looks like in the first 3 quarters of 2012, we don't have any other data. About 3,000 electric vehicles were sold in China. And Tesla has announced that they're going to open their first Tesla store in Beijing. So Forbes was kind of talking about, is the Chinese, will the Chinese buy the Tesla? And there are a lot of favorable reasons why: the pollution, some of the local and especially in Beijing, the municipal subsidies, the fact that the luxury car market is a fairly big segment now in China. But it was kind of interesting. Their analysis was that Tesla really is going to have to compete with other luxury cars, not so much it being an electric car, that they're really going to have to compete with Mercedes and BMW, because once you get over $100,000, you don't get these rebates, free licensing and a $19,000 tax credit. You get over $100,000, you get a 25% import duty, you get a 17% value added tax, you get a consumption tax. So that just changes the whole game. So it'll be kind of interesting to see.
I have the Tesla down as the next cube. You don't remember Jobs?
I do. We had Next on our.
I think it's just gotten to be too expensive. I canceled mine, but they're not having any trouble moving their cars.
No,
and they won't in China. Ironically, Leafs will have a problem. Teslas won't. Why? For a communist country, China sure has a, shall we say, burgeoning upper class.
I think they do. Yeah,
it's right. Expanding rapidly. Yeah. There's some people making a lot of money in China.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
Now, like most places, it isn't very many people. Most of them starve, but there's a growing number of very wealthy Chinese, and they'll buy anything, and they particularly like foreign luxury cars.
Yeah, they like foreign luxury cars. They have all the luxury brands.
So why would Tesla make it and the Leaf won't? The China's had a terrible time getting people to buy electric cars, worse than here.
Yeah, they really haven't penetrated very much.
Which is ironic because their gasoline is not more expensive. China and the U.S. are the 2 locations with the cheapest gasoline in the world. In both cases, largely subsidized by the government. Let them eat gasoline, is what Caesar said.
That's right.
And so, but in China, they do have shortages. And sometimes you have to line up for an hour in the morning to get gasoline.
We did that here once.
We did.
Back in the late 70s.
1978, San Diego, California.
Yeah. Orange County, too.
It has colored my view of all this ever since.
Yeah, I did not like the odd even waiting in line for gasoline at the Union 76.
That was the good part after it kind of worked itself out. The first days of that were apocryphal. I saw the light. And it immediately brought me nose to nose with how very much locked in we are to the use of gasoline. And if you can't get it, there's not a way to live.
Right, there's no alternative, no.
It's kind of like electric power outages. They sound quaint until you go through one. They are quaint for an hour.
Yeah, light the candles.
Midway the second day, this is not working. And by the end of the week, you're in terror.
Yeah.
It's like you can't live without electricity. Well, you can't live without gasoline, the ability to get around in Southern California, I'll tell you.
No, and everything gets delivered by...
There is no place to walk there.
That's right.
Everything is
didn't build it that way. That's right.
They didn't build it that way.
No.
And so it was kind of traumatic. But they have lines in China. Here's what they don't have. Garages.
Oh, how do you...
All the people live in high rises.
Yeah, how do you charge?
So an irony emerges. They have 2 or 3 million electric bicycles.
Yeah, a lot of electric bikes.
They have 1 million electric motor scooters. And they're selling how many electric cars?
They said 3,000 through 3/4 of 2012.
Right. 1,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
300 a month in a land of 1.7 billion.
A billion people. That's a big market, but yeah.
That's pretty poor penetration.
Right. That's not good.
Well, when you go home in China, you can take the electric bicycle with you right into the elevator.
Yeah.
And up to your apartment and set it behind the couch and plug it in.
Plug it in. Yeah.
If you're adventurous, you can bring an electric scooter into the elevator.
You can sneak it in.
And up to the apartment and plug it in.
Trip over it.
Now picture here you are at the front door of the high rise with your Leaf. What are you going to do with it?
Got to take it apart and reassemble it in your apartment?
I don't know.
Yeah. How do you plug it in? Run an extension cord down?
Their living quarters and what they're building right now in the cities to serve as luxury, digs do not have the car parking even.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
They don't even have enough parking for everybody in that building to have a car.
Right. Probably just even curb space.
Most of them walk and take bicycles and scooters.
Yeah.
Now, what good is an electric car if you have no place in the world to plug it in? They don't need infrastructure. They need everything.
Yeah.
And even here in the U.S., if you don't have a garage, I don't think about it too much because who doesn't have a garage? Well, if you don't live in a house, often you don't have one. Here in the U.S., if you do live in an apartment, often you do have
a lot
one.
of apartments have garages,
But,
sure.
if you don't have an indoor place to charge, I don't know that this would be nearly as attractive. If I'm parking on the street, I don't see how an electric car would work for me.
It makes it a lot more difficult. It really does.
And if you were trying to get electric cars into high-rise apartments, this could account for the horrendous loss of life among the porcine parts of your population.
So the pigs are jumping out of parking garages to make room for the electric
Could be
cars?
jumping off of upper level floors.
Yeah, to make room for electric cars into the river, hoping for a safe landing.
What else you got? Right?
Oh, what else do we have? Heck, I guess that we see this all the time, but Volkswagen in the same day roughly has their CEO, Herr Winterkorn, has poo-pooed hydrogen fuel cells and announced a new electric car. All pretty much within a couple of hours.
Is Volkswagen not our green press hypnotized or what? They've announced that VW is finally going to do a production electric vehicle, their first.
Yeah, the e-up.
Since Brian and I have been doing this, Volkswagen has announced a new electric vehicle every month we've been doing this. We've shown photos of them up here.
Right.
Remember the cube-looking thing?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Car after car after car. VW announces an EV every single month. They've never missed an auto show without at least two or three of them to show, and it's always the very first one.
Yeah, the corporate memory is just not that long.
I think the
marketing memory?
The art of assuming that everyone else's is not very long. So they keep announcing this, and the reporters pick it up and, oh yeah, it's the very first.
Like it's new.
You don't remember the one last month? Well, that was a long time ago.
I wasn't here.
That was 12 months in the internet months.
Yeah, that's right. These are like dog months.
I think VW is a great car company. I think they do very innovative things. If anyone should be able to do an electric car, it should be VW. But criminy, you can't just announce one every month without ever bringing a single battery into the plant.
That's right.
It's... God love them. If I was going to pick a company that could win in the electric car space, it's Volkswagen.
Yeah. No, really, I would like to see a VW electric car out there. for sale to the public.
I don't think they're ever going to build one, but I don't think they're going to let everybody else announce electric cars without them having a model in there too.
That's right. Hey, we got one over here.
I think this is an auto respond email box. Anytime anybody in the industry issues a press release about an electric car, VW replies. They're not going to let a shot go unanswered.
That's right.
Anytime anybody says anything about electric cars, they're going to send out another press release and another photo of a car you've never seen before.
Gotta love their Marcom machine.
They've got people inside there that just draw cars all day.
That's right. Got years worth of them, huh?
Nothing to do with their production line. And I think they could be the ones to do it. What else you got?
No,
Is that about it?
Yeah,
Fisker, Tesla.
I think Fisker, Tesla. We
Usual
talked
roundup
about Japan.
stuff. Fisker,
Yeah,
Coda going broke.
yeah.
Volt is continuing to build
Yeah.
out there in mind space. GM is changing their ad agencies for Volt and for Chevy and Cadillac.
Cadillac. Yeah.
They insist their CEO has announced they're going to have a 200-mile car
Right. Saw that.
based
Yeah.
on a battery that they've invested in that has never been proven. I think this is just a leap of faith, but I like the way he talks.
Yeah.
I think that Cadillac ELR would be pretty nice.
It would.
I like my electric Cadillac.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll like that one. And it's black and kind of chrome looking, black and silver,
Yeah.
just like
That's right. Black and chrome.
And so I think it would be great. I probably wouldn't want to maintain one of those cars the way they do them. They're very complicated. But there you go. We're launching a new project and doing a couple of interesting things with the Siemens motors. Sebastian Bourgeois notified me today my first one is in the mail. It's been shipped today.
Oh, cool.
And what that is, we've ordered 10. He likes it when I buy 10. So they made me buy 10. But they have, and you know, Rebirth Auto really does do some fantastic, probably the best adapters in the business for motors to transmissions. By far and away, he says their VW adapters kind of outsell all the rest combined.
Really?
Yeah. And
wow.
so I have commissioned him, and he's somewhat enthusiastic about it, to build a VW adapter for the Siemens motor.
Okay.
And so you'll be able to not only use the e-gear drive, but put the Siemens motor on a VW IRS or swing axle, transaxle. And we're launching a new project. You're familiar with it, but it's been in slow motion up to this point. Let's take a look.
All right, let's take a look.
Brayden, I don't know if you'll recall, we got a 73 VW thing.
I do actually remember.
You were here
last time we had it. I had to put a new carburetor on everything so we could get it.
Oh, that's
titled and all that. We made this thing a pretty good Volkswagen at one point.
Yeah, it ran around pretty good. I gave away that engine with a brand new carburetor.
It was brand new.
For a guy to take it out, and he did. This project has been kind of laying around. We've had a lot of other things going.
Yeah.
But we've sort of been doing it in slow motion. They had some new fenders and old yellow paint, and we sent it out and got it painted as yellow as I could get it.
This is kind of an optic, almost fire truck kind of yellow now.
It's got that little green tint
it
to
does,
it.
yeah. If it was a golf ball, you could find it.
You could find this in the winter, couldn't
That's
you?
right. You could find this.
And, well, you know, I like yellow cars, so this one's like really yellow.
This is, yeah. This is screaming.
And so we got a pretty good paint job on it, I guess. You had ordered us a transmission.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
We had ordered it from Rancho, an IRS transmission, And I believe we did a 344 ring and pinion in this one, yeah. And
That's our usual modus operandi.
It is. That's the one that we normally go to. Those are a little hard to find, but are usually worth it. But yeah, I mean, it looks like we got it in the vehicle.
When you combine the normal VW gear ratios with that 344, it would be like a highway cruiser.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
This actually had a transmission that was a 435 ring and pinion.
Wow.
They put them in there to go over rough country.
Yeah.
At low RPM.
Low RPM, yeah. Kind of like a bus.
And that works good with a little flat 4 engine. With an electric motor, it doesn't work for beans.
It's not good.
It makes first gear is useless with a 435, probably second and third gear.
Yeah, exactly.
We go the other way with a 344 to 1 differential, basically. It's a ring and pinion in a Volkswagen transmission, as I understand it. Now, Brian knows about these things. I repeat shit I've heard.
Close enough.
And get it backwards, usually. But what we noticed with our first Speedster was that with an electric motor in it, and we've done them with AC 50s and with net gain warp 9s, and the motor is absolutely wrapped up and screaming at us, and we're doing 8 miles an hour in first gear.
Seems like an awful lot of racket going on. We're not even moving.
And the motor, you can start in third gear. You got plenty of torque.
Yeah, no, not an issue.
So to make the transmission feel as if we had done parts of this on purpose, we go to, is it the highest or the lowest? To me, it's the highest gear.
It is the highest. We're going to the tallest gear. Yeah, the highest gears that we can do. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That you can get on a VW. Right. And now, first gear feels normal.
It does.
You don't have to take off in it because it is an electric motor. This is not so we get the sense of shifting like you do in a car. For me, it's like a Select-O-Matic or something, which like Volkswagen did, I think.
Right, yeah.
Which was like an automatic, but you could shift.
Yeah, the auto stick. Yeah.
The auto stick.
Auto stick, yeah.
You can select from 4 gears. You don't really run through them like you do with a gas engine. But if I go out on a highway, I drop it in fourth with that overdrive gear, and all of a sudden life is good. I'm cooking along at 2,000, 2,100 RPM, right in the zone, and at 80 and 90.
And beyond.
And beyond.
And beyond.
To infinity and beyond.
Beyond, that's right.
And but I can drive around in first gear and like up hills and stuff, or if I want to plow.
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels very normal. So it's simply a matter of aesthetics, really. But I'm still of the school that the leverage and the options you get with a transmission lets you use a much smaller motor and drive a much bigger car, much more ably.
I think so, yeah.
Now, if you go to direct drive or a single speed, you're trading off a lot of stuff, and basically what you have to do is motor up, get a bigger motor.
Get a bigger motor.
Tesla has 1 speed, but it has a 200 kilowatt motor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Well, a 200 kilowatt motor drive 4 of our cars.
Yep.
We put 50 kilowatt motors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then kind of pump them up. We'll peak at 100 or 120, but rarely above that.
No.
I mean, a net gain with a Soliton, I can do 160 horsepower in that for a Speedster, thanks to you and Matt. I don't care anything about it. But I was big man on campus on that dynamometer last year.
I bet.
Yeah, even John Metrick, the drag race guy, said, that car's kind of quick.
Pretty serious.
To me, it's kind of porky. 2,400 pounds. I think he was thinking he could maybe take that same car and have 300 pounds of batteries instead of 2,400 pounds.
Yeah, and move pretty good.
And move pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's not really what I'm about most of the time. But that's the transmission. The 2 S's, Shane and Shannon, have installed it in the vehicle.
Yeah, looks nice. Yeah.
We ran into a little difficulty.
Oh, really?
The transmission didn't match the drive shafts.
where on the?
Right at the transmission. I've
at
never
the
even done one of
flanges?
these IRS transmissions before, so I didn't know what was going on. Jeff Southern kind of clued me what to do about it. These VW things were a little peculiar. They use a different drive shaft than the Bugs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it's bigger. And it's bigger CV joints. And it has a bigger flange that meets to the transmission.
On the inboard side, yeah.
Now, the funny thing is they're both 6-bolt, and the bolts are the same size. So we thought we were good to go.
Yeah.
The thing uses 100 millimeter flange.
Okay.
And the Bug uses a 90.
Okay.
So it's just a ½ inch smaller, so
Yeah.
it's like a quarter inch on the edge.
Yeah.
And
big quarter-inch though.
but we couldn't get them bolts to fit. As it turns out, per Mr. Southern's instructions, we removed seal and a C-ring, and they pop right off the transmission.
Those flanges come off.
So
okay.
we swapped it with the other transmission, and the drive shafts went right on.
Perfect. Good deal.
So we have a 344 brand new Rancho IRS transmission, and this vehicle is ready to be converted.
Cool. That's what we like to hear.
And it would be a great conversion. And the proper thing for me to do is to drop an AC50 in this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a nice.
With the engine and everything, it was 2,400 pounds. I think when we get done, it'll be 2,500.
Oh,
and
not
36 CA 180 FIs, and this baby you'd probably certainly make 80 mile. It'd do highway speeds, good acceleration, and it would be a really fun little car. I'd probably let my daughter drive it this summer.
I believe that. I think that'd be a great conversion.
Simple. We got plenty of room, and it would be, we could have it done in a month.
Yeah, just drop it all in, basically.
Yeah. So let's don't do any of that.
What do you think, huh? We don't want to do anything.
So we ain't gonna do any of that
We're not going
shit.
to do any of that stuff. We were done that before.
Basically, that's a factor.
Yeah,
How many times are we going to show these guys how to do a speedster again?
you're right.
In this case, a Jeepster. Looks like a bumblebee ran into a Willie's Jeep and mistook it for another bumblebee, and this is the offspring.
Here's what we've got. Yeah, we don't want to do anything we've done before. Not too many times.
Well, there's some other considerations. We have these Siemens motors in stock,
You're right.
and the DMOC 645. We don't really have them working, but while you were gone, we got them turning on
That's
the bench.
what I understand. Yeah, they've got to turn on the bench.
Got a couple stallions out there. Ed Clausen and Colin Kidder.
Colin Kidder, yeah.
They got
Nice.
the Machina working to drive the DMOC 645.
Yes, I saw that.
Wasn't driving it very well.
Right.
We've had a little change of direction.
Okay.
In the interim, Arduino, who had announced this some time ago, has come out, and you can get them, the Arduino Dewey.
Oh, okay, cool. What's that all about?
It's kind of like an Arduino part duh.
Pardon, there you go.
They call it, they're Italian, so they call it a Dewey.
The Dewey.
DUE. What does DUE mean in Italian?
Two, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Uno, due.
The original Arduino had a very nice little Atmel chip that was 16 megahertz clock
Yeah.
and an 8-bit chip. And it was quite capable, but you could load it down. You could make it busy.
You can make it pretty busy.
And get it to slow down
Yeah.
if you put enough on it.
Yeah.
This new one is a ARM Cortex 32-bit chip, and that's really the darling of multi-controllers these days.
Is that chip?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ARM Cortex series, of course, they have everything from an M3 to an M9, different powers of it, but this is an M3, and it runs at 84 megahertz, and it's 32-bit.
That's a screamer.
It's 10 times the
Yeah.
the throughput of or better.
Wow.
So that's a lot of horsepower.
That is, yeah.
it also has the MCP 5515 transceiver, or the controller, in the chip for CAN bus.
Oh, okay.
It has
There you
two
go.
CAN bus channels.
Oh, man.
Now, to really do two CAN bus channels, they're in two parts, the controller and the transceiver.
All right.
You program the controller, and it talks to the transceiver that actually makes the pulses. And
Sure.
so forth.
Okay.
So it's like a chip pair.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the transceiver on the board.
Okay.
At all. And so you have half of two CAN buses.
Okay.
And the other issue is it's a 3.3 volt system. And of course our sensors in the Arduino was all a 5 volt system. But our accelerators and, like
Right,
all
all
our
that was 5
sensors on the
volts.
Escalade and
Yeah.
stuff are 0 to 5 volt.
Right.
There's actually some ways to deal with that. You can put a little resistor network and just scale it to 3.3 volts as an input. But what Ed Clausen is doing, and Colin Kidder, is doing a shield for the Arduino DUI that has the transceivers for the two CAN buses and some opto isolators for the analog inputs.
All right. Okay.
And the Arduino
Sure.
DUI, you can have two levels of analog to digital conversion. One of them is the normal 10-bit. And so whatever you put in on this 0 to 3.3 volts has 1,023 discrete digital points.
Sure. Right.
So 3.3 volts would be 1,023, and 0 volts would be 0.
0, yeah.
And so you chop it in and you represent it digitally.
Yeah,
That's
everything
what
in
an
between.
analog to digital conversion
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
This one also has a 12-bit mode. And 12-bit gives you 4,096 discrete things. And so even though it's a narrower level, 0 to 3.3 volts, you have a 4 times finer resolution.
Right. That's cool.
Going to 12 bits.
Yeah.
And Ed has coupled that with an opto isolator and tested it, and it's quite linear and works quite well.
Nice. Nice. Way to
And
go.
so for our inputs, like from our brakes and our accelerator and stuff, we'll be able to read those at a finer resolution.
Right. Nice.
Most of the gas pedals, if you give them 3.3 volts, they work, and they put out something between 0 and 3.3 instead of 0 to 5.
Right.
If we did have to, the board has 5 volts on it, so we could provide 5 volts to an accelerator or a brake transducer, for example, and take the output and just run it across 2 resistors, precision resistors, and scale it to 3.3 volts.
3.3, yeah, sure.
Where 4.5 volts equaled 3.3 volts,
Right.
for example, with 2 resistors, and run it through that opto isolator. But an opto isolator lets us do other things like measure our pack voltage without isolation problems.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
That's pretty
that
cool.
we need. Yes.
And so,
Okay, nice.
and they're going to put Wi-Fi on the shield.
Really?
Yeah, so I could do like a little program on
Yeah,
Android
or something, sure.
and get information.
Which is what we've been
from this
after for a
device.
long time.
It
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
So our progress has slowed down. We have our test bench. It's up. I've got a battery pack. I've got the controller there. I've got the motor. We've got a generator to act as a load. And we've spun it up. I've got it coupled together. And so we can test this.
Okay, great.
What we can't do is I can't get a good sense of the feel of the accelerator and the brakes standing on top of that bench.
Right. It's just not there.
It's just
It's
not
just
ever going
it's
to
just
be
not
there.
ever going to be there, no.
And so we need a rolling test bed for this generalized electric vehicle control unit.
Sure.
Colin has rewritten this whole CAN library to work with these 2 channels and this, so it's coming along. our guys in Huntington with the Marshall Space Flight Center,
Yes.
instead they designed a controller for the Cadillac Escalade seats.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know it has a Peltier effect, heating and cooling in the seat? That's not the air conditioning blowing cold air. That's a Peltier
I always
system.
thought it was the air conditioning.
No, it's a Peltier system
Really?
in the seat. And you control it with a 100 hertz pulse width, as to whether it's cooling or heating and on high, medium, or low.
Okay.
And he built a little Arduino controller
do that for the-
control that for a guy who's putting Escalade seats in his Corvette.
Oh, okay.
Cool, Paul, but how about our project?
The project, huh? Oops.
So he's going to try to get back on that. He's trying to finish up. He's doing a silica conversion and should have that done this weekend. Maybe we'll get some video of it.
Oh, cool. All right, nice.
So I made a command level decision to do something so stupid even I can't really swallow this
That's
one.
right. You have to spank yourself.
We're going to put a Siemens in this.
Hmm?
I know.
I suppose, huh?
Well, it's going to require some fitment.
I was just giving it a little visual inspection here, and I would say that on a cursory inspection.
In the first place, how do we mate a Siemens to a VW transaxle?
With a different type of adapter.
Where would we get one of those?
I'm going to have one made.
Called Sebastian Bourgeois down at Rebirth Auto Evnetics. He made me buy 10. He's getting pretty greedy. I bought 10 controllers from him. Now he wants to sell everything to me in groups of 10.
Lots of 10. Well, it's even. You can just put a 0 on the end.
Yeah, he likes those zeros.
Yeah, that math is easy that way. I love you, Sebastian.
So we bought me one, and 9 of you one.
Yeah, that's right.
And they think I'm kidding. The E-Gear drives, by the way, we sold out of the ones we got at liquidation. And we're into the Borg Warner ones, which are a lot more expensive. You may notice they went up about $500 on the website.
I did notice that, today.
Yeah. So you guys that already bought them, were you cunning bastards or what?
That's right. You got the good guy price. That's right.
Yeah. Now we're kind of passing them from Borg Warner to them.
Yeah, it's not as good a deal.
Yeah.
For
Buy
us,
some coffee
especially.
cups or something
Yeah,
from
for
them.
us especially.
We'll make it up on braided battery strands.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Seb is doing us an adapter.
Okay, cool.
And is nearing completion of the first one. I told him I didn't want 10. Send me one, and we'll try it out and phone in corrections that he
Right,
can
make
make
sure
on
we
the
don't
other
have all
9
10 of them
before
working.
we ship them. They're heavy.
Yeah.
But it's an adapter that actually puts a VW hub for a flywheel
Okay.
on the Siemens motor, and it has a thrust bearing that holds it on to the Siemens motor and matches this spline
Matches that
on
spline.
the Siemens motor.
Okay.
And bolts to the transmission and holds the flywheel right where it needs to be.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
We hope.
I know.
We'll see. The problem is it's 3 or 4 inches thick.
Oh.
And our motor
Yes.
is too long for our bay right now.
Our Siemens motor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to take a little fitment.
So we're actually
is
going
nice
to
paint.
we're going to have to take a hatchet to the back of the vehicle, maybe the bumper, and then build something holding them together. So that motor, as that body goes up and down, it won't be banging on that motor, and it'll clear, and it's probably going to stick out the back of the vehicle.
It would kind of look like the rear of the Batmobile.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
problem
some
is
flames.
that our liquid cooling things, let me wheel this around here where you can see it. are, of course, at the back of the motor.
Oh, yeah.
Then we're going to have hoses back here. This may be the ugliest car we've ever done, unless you can devise some sort of bustle or something,
we might be
ribbon
able to.
carnation or something to go over it.
We might be able to go down to the antique museum or something and find something. Huh?
Maybe you could extend the shaft and mount the license plate on the end of it where it
spinning.
spins
Yeah, it's spinning. Yeah.
when you're driving and is straight when
it'll
you're
make
parked.
noise.
And so whenever they pull you over, it looks fine.
Well, and that could alert people there's an electric vehicle coming up.
That's right.
That could be our whistling sound.
And
Yeah.
so, and then we got to get this thing, which, as I've said all along, is kind of a monstrosity, physically, with, again, liquid cooling, somehow mounted up there above the motor
And they do recommend that be mounted on rubber isolation and things like that too, on a flat surface. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, they got the mounting here on these corners, and then we got to have the cables hooked up to the motor, and so I'm not sure how we work all that out.
Work all that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my.
So it's going to be a little ugly. Worse.
Yeah.
The electric vehicle control unit.
Yes.
I want that up probably on the dashboard or something where I can just change it, plug it in and unplug it. Because we're going to be
we don't want to be
plugging and unplugging a million times.
Yeah, having to get somewhere where it's
We're
hard
going to have to go to the bench. We're going to have to reload software. We're going to have to maybe swap units out. We might have 2 or 3 different versions.
Sure. Right.
But I want a plug where I can plug it in real handy somewhere. It could be back here, but it's got to be literally
yeah,
right where I can get it.
Yeah, because that's experimental too. Yeah.
And of course, we have to have a pretty capable cooling system in all this. So somewhere in here, we got to wedge a fill bottle,
yeah,
and a pump, and a Durali heat exchanger. And fortunately, we don't need to add a chill plate. We've got all that built into the motor and the controller, but a pretty good sized Durali heat exchanger, and a pump and a fill tank.
Yeah. Yep. No, we will.
And so that's got to all be wedged in there. So it's going to be kind of a mess. I'm taking a real easy project and turning it into a real challenge.
Complicating it beyond belief.
Complicating it beyond all reasonable belief.
Yeah.
And it gets worse.
But wait, there's more?
But wait, there's more. 210 volts is the minimum this will even operate at.
Right, that is true.
And as we recently discussed and described with the AC50 versus the AC75, our RPM point is a function of voltage.
Yes, right.
Again, I got a 4-speed transmission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not as critical for us. We could live with it. But still, to get the maximum power out of this thing, and I don't really need the maximum power, but if we're going to do a test bed for it,
might as well.
Might as well.
We'll always be wondering what it would have done.
So instead of 36 cells, we're talking about 100.
Oh, man.
36 cells is about 400 pounds. So 100 would be about 1,200 pounds.
Yeah.
Fortunately, about 300 amps, and the windings in this little puppy start to get pretty hot.
Okay, all right.
A CA60 FI would do 600 amps.
Yes, it would. Yeah, it would do 600 amps. So we don't need 180s.
I don't need 180s.
Yeah, we really don't need 180s, yeah.
And so the problem is we've already built some of the battery boxes for this thing.
Not like we haven't built battery boxes before. There's a bunch of them laying around here.
Yes, there is. And so Let's go up front and I'll show you what we've got going. We're gonna go to CA60 FI cells and put 100 of them in for a smooth 334 volts, which is within a volt of what this system was working at in the eTransit Connect.
All right. Let's take a look. I know, that's something.
That's really something. We've had some interesting developments. I sent off some measurements and had some battery boxes made at my buddy Danny Tote's.
Oh yeah, over at the Southeast Fabrication, yeah.
Started first grade with Dan. The great guy. He does all my metal fabrication.
Yeah.
His father, Cletus Tote, did all the metal fabrication for my father, who was Jack Rickard.
Yes, that's right. Cletus?
Cletus?
You gotta love that.
Cletus Tote, yeah.
We must be in Missouri.
We are in Missouri.
Not in Kansas anymore.
We had planned these boxes. We have two of them here. One across the front where the spare goes, and one we've cut out the gas tank.
Oh, yep.
And made us a box that fits right down. On top, it kind of works around the, I think we had to move the reservoir for the brakes.
Oh, for the brake, okay. Yeah.
And it clears the steering. And we'll have a little plate here on the right that will cover that up. And we're using that rocket bed liner that we used on the boxes for the Speedster knee pump.
You showed me that.
I really like this. It's about 110 bucks on eBay or something. Comes with its own spray thing. You have to have an air tank, 45 to 60 pounds. And you almost can't mess it up. It puts a texture on it
really
anyway.
Nice.
So you don't have to be Leonardo da Vinci or anything. Michelangelo is not doing the Sistine Chapel here.
You know, and we did get some white smoke today out of the Sistine Chapel.
Today, didn't we?
Yeah, we did get some white smoke.
We've had nothing but black, dirty straw smoke.
That's right.
While we've been interregnum.
That's right.
I told the priest down at the St. Mary's Cathedral, where I'm in the choir, that it's the first time I'd sung Popeless in the choir.
Usually it's just hopeless.
Interregnum.
That's right.
And that, you know, give me a break here. You cut me some slack. It's my first time.
That's right.
And
I can't help it.
But today's the day.
Today we got a Pope.
They got white smoke.
They got white smoke, yeah, they got white smoke.
From Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina, and he took the name Francis, so he will be Pope Francis.
Pope Francis.
Yes.
The 73rd or...
what, two?
Do they know how many Francis?
I don't know how many Francis, but this is the first time we have a non-European Pope in 1,000 years.
Well, who did we have then?
I don't know. Somebody that wasn't from Europe.
Somebody not from Europe.
Maybe Asia or something.
So we have a new Pope, and we're no longer interregnum.
No, we are no longer interregnum.
Where did all that come from? We were talking about battery boxes.
Something, oh God, who knows? Texture, smoke.
The texture. Yes, you don't have to be Michelangelo.
You don't have to be Michelangelo.
That's right. Sprays a kind of an ugly pattern like you would have on a truck bed. We love it.
It's cool, yeah.
It goes with the EVTV color scheme theme of if you paint it black,
it'll disappear.
It disappears. And on this vehicle, it kind of goes along with the whole black, yellow bumblebee motif.
That's right. Yeah, kind of gotta love it.
And so we're going to have some room up here. But I designed this box to hold 15 CA
the 180s.
FIs.
Okay.
Would you believe this is the 60, and it's actually a little shorter, but a lot thinner, and of course a lot narrower. And so this all looks kind of random. But we turned them around, and I can get exactly 3 cells side by side. So I get 3 rows, and they're pretty close to exactly 12 cells long.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
So where I was going to get 15 of these, 36
of those. That's not bad.
Fit almost exactly. So you get better than a 2-to-1.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked out. This is going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but I think I've got it worked out where we can do 20 of these.
Okay.
And so we'll have 56 cells up front. We had 2 boxes made for the rear of the vehicle in the engine compartment. We're not going to use those at all.
Okay.
We're going to make a new box that's 2 rows of these, 22 long, to fit behind the back seats.
And that'll get us to our 100.
That gets us 44.
Yeah.
That's 100 cells.
Okay.
So 100 cells sounds like a horror to me. But actually, when they're this much smaller and lighter,
Yeah.
it works out pretty good. And so,
Okay.
and these cells are 60 amp hour. They actually test out almost 70.
Oh, wow.
And they're capable of 10 to 12 C. We've tested them. And so, by the way, we took one of them and sent them up to Illinois, and I had it frozen to 350 degrees Fahrenheit below zero.
Really?
And brought back and tested it again. And do you know what it did?
No.
It changed the capacity from 70 to over 400.
What?
No, it didn't do any of that.
Couldn't have done.
It changed it from a little, just under 70 to about just under 70.
Just under 70.
So freezing them to 350 degrees below zero doesn't really do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
But it didn't swell them up. It didn't change them. They came back to full capacity and really unchanged.
Interesting.
The case unchanged.
Interesting. Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
I would have rather they came back and had 400 amp hour capacity.
That's right.
We'd have gone into battery production.
Yeah, we would have had a
with,
secret.
with the secret
That's
technique.
right. We would have had a secret finally.
It had our liquid,
taken us
liquid
20 years.
nitrogen cryogenic aging
right.
facility in the back room. But that didn't work out. So not everything does. Which is kind of interesting. We tried it. I'm in another one of those things on LinkedIn, Battery Pros. We have got a battery system in the Boing 767. I kind of busted this in the blog. We
You mean the
alluded to it in the
787,
show.
the Dreamliner?
787 Dreamliner.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
This was designed starting in 2005, a little 8-cell pack of prismatics to start an APU unit.
Right.
An auxiliary power
Right,
unit
right.
to be used on the ground to
Yeah.
make electricity for the airplane. Boeing went through acceptance tests. The FAA reviewed all that. Everyone blessed it. They've had 2 fires.
Yes. Yeah.
The FAA, the NTSB, and the Japanese Transportation Board have all reviewed this. And despite visible swelling of the cells where they look like footballs, apparently
seen that.
they don't know what that means.
Yeah, they've never watched our show, obviously.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
And they have concluded from the logs of the battery charging unit and battery management unit that it was never overcharged,
Okay.
but somehow they magically swelled.
Somehow they swelled up.
And what have we told you all? If you have a swollen cell, it is damaged.
True enough.
It's not a guess.
No.
They do not swell in normal operation. They do not swell from too much current coming out of them. They do not swell from overheating because they don't overheat. They swell when you over-discharge or you overcharge.
Right.
And you got to over-discharge them hard to get them to
Get
swell.
them to swell, yeah, exactly.
But a little bit of overcharge and they swell. So if you think you've charged your cells to 4.2 volts using your BMS that shuttled some stuff and that swelling is normal, you've been fed a line. Swelling is a sign of damage.
As far as we've seen, yeah. Yeah, we've been through a lot of cells.
We've been through a lot of cells.
A lot of cells.
I can show you how to swell them.
That's right.
And they don't do it on their own.
That's right.
Now,
Jeez.
here's the other deal. The charging of these cells is a procedure. Our cells, if you take the negative electropotential of the anode
Right.
and you add it to the positive electropotential of the cathode. And by the way, that's actually backwards, but that's how they talk about batteries. I'm not going to try to fix it or explain it. I'm sorry. And you add the two of them together,
Yeah.
you come up with about 3.38 volts on our cells.
Okay.
If you fully charge them to 100%, that's their voltage.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they don't have another voltage.
No.
That's
the voltage.
the voltage.
Yeah. That's the voltage.
Here's the problem. In order to measure it, if we put current in or we take current out, we set off an intercalation of lithium ions, primarily in the anode, that is sort of a game of musical chairs. The ions don't like to be next to each other. They really want every third position, not every other position in the carbon matrix. And obviously we're putting them in one side. And so every time one goes in, when you're first charging it, it's no problem. There's a place for it.
Right.
And it takes the first place it can find.
Right.
If you add another one, it'll take the first place it can find. This is like the analogy I use is going into a popular nightclub at 5:30 p.m. There's nobody there. You can walk right up to the bar.
You can have any seat you want.
Yeah. At 10:30, if you come in the door, the people inside the door kind of have to make room for you. And by 11, pretty much everybody in the bar has got to move up about 4 inches for you to come in at all.
That's right, just get in the door.
And so as you near the end of charge, for one lithium ion to be added, almost all of them have to move
They've
a
all
slot.
got to jiggle. Yeah. Yep.
No, they have to hop
juggle.
over a
Hop
slot
over,
to
yeah,
make
so-
room.
Yeah.
The one coming in will bump this one. That bumps 3 more. They each bump 3 more. They each bump 3 more. And so, and this goes on and on. The result is if you charge the cell, you have to wait 24 hours to measure it.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not done then. But the voltage will start to settle. In 12 hours, it's pretty stable. In 24 hours, it's quite stable. If you're designing batteries in a laboratory, I'm told it's 30 days. It's what you have to wait.
Oh, that's how long you have to wait. Okay.
For it to be complete. But 99% of it's done in 24 hours. So we don't know what the voltage is. How would we charge the cell? Well, we could put it in 2 amp hours, wait 24 hours, and measure the voltage. The voltage is actually a good indication of cell state of charge, but only the open circuit voltage of the cell. With current and diffusion, it's nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So then, after 24 hours, we measure it, add another 2 amp hours. In 2 months, we'll have a charged battery. If we do that every day.
Do that
And
every
it'll be
day.
very precisely charged.
Yeah.
This isn't practical. We can't make and sell lithium cells this way.
No.
They charge like this. So they come up with a procedure. How about we charge it to a higher voltage and hold the voltage until the current diminishes, and we can measure all that. What would we pick?
What would you pick? Well, a little bit higher.
Well, we want it higher.
Right.
Our electrolytes are a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
At 4.5 volts. The reason we have aqueous electrolytes, non-aqueous electrolytes, organics, is because aqueous electrolytes hydrolyze at a little over 2 volts.
Okay.
They separate into
separate,
oxygen and hydrogen.
Yep.
The same thing doesn't happen with our organics. Number one, they don't do that. But at about 4.5 volts, they start to do some ugly things, combining into other compounds.
They just find other places to be.
So we don't
Other
want to be
things.
above 4.5 volts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so somewhere between our open circuit voltage and 4.5 volts, and we would put energy in for a while until the battery read that voltage, and then hold it there until the current decreases to some value, and bingo pronto, we're there.
They're done. Yeah.
All we have to do is do that and see where we come out.
Right.
So we'll just charge to that voltage, and it can be any of those voltages, and then let it taper off until some value and stop.
Right.
And that might be 0.05 C or 0.07 C or some current level,
Right.
which we don't want to go past because we'd overcharge the cell.
We'd overcharge, sure.
And so we'll just do that. And we'll write down this procedure and give it to our users. And if they follow it, it'll come out about charged. And so cool.
Right.
The Thunder Sky cells, I have seen specifications for the same cell from the same manufacturer at 4.2 volts, at 4 volts, at 3.8 volts, and at 3.65 volts.
Right, we have.
The SE cells were 3.65 volts. They're lithium iron phosphate too.
Yes.
They were always 3.65.
Always 3.65, yeah.
It's the same chemistry. These CA FI cells are a little different. Guess what voltage they use? 3.65.
Okay.
This is a recipe. The voltage doesn't mean anything.
Right.
This is a procedure,
yeah.
that you can use common test equipment for and thus automate.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
We can build equipment
We
to
can
do
build
this
equipment.
automatically.
Right.
Because it's observable values, voltage and current.
Right, exactly.
So we can start from any state of charge. If you follow this procedure, you'll wind up.
You should wind up where you want
As
to be.
the energy comes up in
Right.
the cell, the voltage between the power supply and the cell that's exhibited will rise.
Right.
And to hold that voltage, the amount of energy to hold it will go down
Right.
as the energy in the cell rises. And so if we know where we want that to wind up, we're there. All we have to do is develop that curve for that voltage and give it to people.
Right.
But it isn't anything. The voltage is the result of a battle between a power supply and a battery.
That's right. That's right. To put some energy in.
To put some energy in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? And we're done putting energy in. We want to quit. This is like a recipe to make a chocolate cake. 2 eggs, some flour, some Hershey's cocoa, a little milk, stir it up, put it in a pan, put it in an oven at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Take the cake out. And by the way, preheat the oven because we want it to be 350 when you put it in.
When you put it in, yeah.
What part of that's hard? So what happens if you put it in at 350 and go off and leave it for 6 weeks?
Well, you would overcharge your cake.
You would have a
Burn up cake.
What if you cooked it for 12 minutes?
Underdone. Yeah.
Well, what if we did it for 12 minutes at 525 degrees?
I wouldn't be following the recipe.
Yeah, but you might be able to do that. See, you could
Yeah.
probably work it out at a higher temperature and a lower time. It'd be a different recipe, but you get a similar result. It wouldn't really work out, right? Because the crust would be a little done and a little underdone inside, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Or if you did it at 300 degrees for 45 minutes. But you could approximate it.
Yeah.
But we found 350 is a good temperature, and 30 minutes is a magic number.
Right.
And so that's what we do. So do we call that a 350 degree cake?
Sure.
No, we call it a chocolate cake.
Oh, the chocolate. Trying to make it
What temperature is it when we eat it?
Yeah, that's right.
350?
No, the room temperature or cold doesn't matter.
What is the 350?
Yeah.
It isn't anything. It's
No,
the
the
temperature.
temperature.
It's part of a recipe.
Yeah. Yep.
The cake doesn't know what temperature it was.
No.
When you eat it, you don't know what temperature it was. It's a procedural step to get to a desired end.
Right.
Just like our charge curves on the batteries. The battery, open circuit, 100% charge is 3.38 volts. I never want to see one at 3.38 volts because at 3.39 it starts to swell.
That's right.
And we start to lose capacity.
Yeah.
Okay?
We start to lose capacity, absolutely.
There's some other things that happen that are worse. These battery guys think the charge voltage is something. It isn't anything. It's a procedural step.
Okay.
If you
Follow
get
you,
on the
yeah.
yellow brick road and you pick up the straw guy and head west, you'll get to Oz. Oz is the yellow brick road, and the straw man doesn't really know anything about a yellow brick road. People sometimes go both ways. That's right. It's directions. Our objective is to reach the maximum charge in the cell. Mine actually is not.
Right. We do not like to charge 100%.
Here's what
Yeah.
they can't take, and that is charge them to that voltage and leave it there.
No.
Because you continue to put energy in the cell. Does the current go down? Yes. Does it go to zero? No. Does it go to zero if you do it for a long time? No. Does it ever go to zero? No. Why? Because the 100% stated charge of the cell is 3.38 volts. If you have it at 4 volts, you're putting energy in the cell.
Right. Right.
And this is very easy to verify. Hook up a charger and have it charge your battery to 4 volts and hold it there and never terminate. Please, for Christ's sake, do this outdoors on a patio or driveway,
Right.
preferably in a metal container and with no combustibles nearby.
That's right. It's kind of like deep frying a turkey.
It's not a matter of whether, it's a matter of when
Yeah, just when.
the cell is going to swell. The cell is not swelling because there's too much pressure on the gas or there's too much heat or anything like that. You're actually building dendrites of lithium metal out through an SEI layer over the anode.
Okay.
Now here's the problem. When they first made the cell, the anode's bare, and by the way, there's no lithium ion in the cathode. It's lithium metal.
Okay. Yeah.
On the first charge, we're going to rip the electrons out of the cathode and pump them over to the anode. And the thing that gives it up the easiest, the party girl of all materials in the cathode, is lithium because it has one outer valence electron that's very loosely held.
She's ready to party.
She's
She's
giving it up. This is the one martini gal.
That's
You
right.
don't need 3 martinis.
That's right. Twirl her fast.
One martini.
She'll be gone.
She's giving up the electron. It goes over to the anode. Now you have a lithium ion. It travels over to the anode where it's held in place by the increasingly negative charge of the carbon material. But they don't all make it. The lithium ions can interact with the LiPF6 lithium ions and organics in the electrolyte to produce a precipitate. It's kind of a polyvinyl, and it's normally deposited on the carbon of the anode.
Okay.
And this happens very, very slowly in the formative charge. Once that skin develops, the lithium ions have to go through the skin to join with the intercalate into the anode. And a lot of them do. And this is actually a pretty neat function. It's a problem, it's also a protectant. Kind of holds all the carbon together during their volumetric expansion and contraction. But it also blocks interaction of those lithium ions further with the electrolytes to form this polyvinyl.
Okay.
Now we have a bunch of lithium ions in the anode because we're fully charged. We keep charging and the lithium starts to form dendrites and actually combine with electrons instead of being held in place electrostatically, and develop lithium plating that protrudes through the SEI layer. If we break this SEI layer now, we have a lot of lithium ions in that carbon, a whole bunch. And we have a bunch of solvent. And they react violently because now we can do it all at once.
All at once.
We have a room full of party girls and they're ready to go.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
Oh, man.
And when that solvent, through that ruptured SEI, hits that lithium cation, it gives off heat. Except we got a bunch of them now, and that makes a bunch of heat.
A lot of heat, yeah.
Guess what happens when you get heat? You start to break down the SEI layer.
Oh, boy.
Wait a minute, we were already doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's do more of it then.
Let's accelerate it.
And it goes into a thermal runaway.
Yeah.
Would you believe that's not that bad a deal? It goes up, 100 degrees or so. No big deal. Except the cathode is separated from the anode by a real thin piece of plastic garbage bag.
That's right. Yeah.
And the cathode, at some temperature, all of them contain oxygen. And at some temperature, they give off that oxygen, and now you have a thermal runaway event with its own oxygen source.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah.
How do you feel about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit and hot enough that we have instances of cars melted with the tires burnt off of them, the glass melted out of the doors, and the transmission melted into a puddle and reformed under the car? How about that? Which is not cool in a car.
No.
It's really not cool in an airplane.
No, that's right. Yeah. You don't want that in your airplane.
Of the cathode materials, why do I like lithium iron phosphate? It gives off oxygen at over 400 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
Why don't I like lithium cobalt oxide? 150 degrees centigrade.
So,
What are we using the thing? Lithium iron phosphate. What do they use in a $100 million Austin Powers?
$100 million.
$100 million Boing Dreamliner.
The wrong chemistry?
There's no right or wrong, but I use lithium iron phosphate and they use lithium cobalt oxide.
Yeah.
They went through the whole thing. The battery management unit works fine. The battery charging unit works fine. The cells are swollen. And they've had a thermal event. It got really hot. They put the fire out, and would you believe it reignited? It has its own oxygen source.
Yeah, oxygen.
Halon does not work. You can't cut the oxygen off a fire that produces oxygen.
Yeah, that is kind of tough.
If you want to fight a fire, lithium-ion cell firefighters, this is old school, I know. You're not going to like to hear this on an electrical fire. It's water. Your objective is not to smother the fire, it's to remove the heat. And it will make some very hot steam that can burn you very bad, so solid stream from a distance. Cool it down, get it out, and immerse it in water. Because it'll flare up again after you have it out in the parking lot.
Yeah, we've seen that. Yeah.
It'll happen. Water is your best. Freon would work, I suppose. And get the heat away. In any event, the battery management system works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They call it a BMU. It does a lot of silly things that these cells do not need to have done to them. I'm sorry, battery pro professionals. You don't know what you're doing. But it's harmless, and it's okay to know what's going on in your battery unit, what voltage and what temperature it is. I have nothing against that, as long as you don't burn the place down with the spaghetti wiring. Right. The battery charging unit appears to have charged, terminated perfectly. They can't find any evidence of failure. The generator works fine. And so it must be the batteries. They are just spontaneously and as if by magic swelling up and causing a fire. And Boeing has a plan.
They do.
This is a plan.
Okay.
This is good. They're going to make a stronger box.
Oh, okay.
And they're going to put separators between the batteries to contain them better.
Okay.
What happens if you take a flammable item and put it under pressure in a heavy vessel?
I would suppose that it could explode.
And a pull ring and a clip right. And a way to attach it to your vest.
You could throw, just going to make it small enough
so
to
you
throw.
Can pull the ring and throw it at somebody right before it goes off and throw shrapnel through an aluminum airplane.
Yeah, aluminum and composites. Yikes.
Boeing wants to build the bomb for the passengers.
There you go.
That's a terrorist act, technically.
Is that why we got our pocket knives back?
And Homeland Security is going to hear about you guys.
That's right. Oh, jeez.
So, batteries don't magically short themselves.
No.
And they don't magically swell themselves. And there isn't any magic.
No, we're tripping over them all the time. They look just fine. They don't do very much by themselves.
I sit on them, guys.
Yeah, they don't do much by themselves.
They don't do much by themselves. They deserve an appreciative audience. However, if you hook them up to a 32-volt bus, and in the case of lithium, cobalt oxide, the open circuit voltage is not 3.38. They've actually got two. Some batteries have two peaks electrochemically. 3.66 is the interim between the 3.61 and the 3.72. Let's take the higher value and call it a 3.72 volt battery. If you had 8, what's the value total? 29.65.
Okay, close enough.
Something like that. They hang it on a 32 volt generator bus.
Uh-oh. For a long time?
Only for the time the APU is in operation, which varies with each landing. So when they put it in, it didn't blow up.
No.
It didn't blow up for months. Every time they land, they start the APU, which takes energy out of the batteries, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would.
And then they hang it, the battery, as a buffer on the 32 volt bus, and it's charging with no supervision at all. In this case, 14 minutes till it blew.
Yeah, that time. Yeah.
That time.
Right, right.
I've seen airplanes push back from the gate so they can claim to have departed under federal regulations.
Right, they get an on-time departure, yeah.
They get an on-time departure and they sit there for 3.5 hours
out in the box.
on the APU.
Yeah, out in the box on the APU.
Out in the box on the APU.
Oops.
Duh.
So, oh, man.
Randomly across the thing, they happen to have 2 of them go off nearly the same week.
Yeah.
They should have experimentally continued to fly for another week to see if they got 5 or 6
got a few
more
of them. That's right. Oh, man.
It's not weather, it's wind. 32 volts into 29.6 is very similar to trying to stuff 12 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound sack. If you'll hit them really hard with a hammer, you can do it. But yes. You wind up with mashed potatoes.
That's right. You do get something made out of potatoes.
They are potatoes, and it is in the sack.
That's right.
And that's exactly what they're doing, and it's so obvious a child should have picked up on this. I can't find anybody to talk to me. I've sent email to the national NTSB.
NTSB, yeah.
They sent me an acknowledgement that they had received it. and someone would be getting to me soon.
There you go.
I sent an email to the communications director of Boeing. I didn't even get a reply.
And you won't.
And I won't. I used to work at McDonnell Aircraft, which was acquired by Boeing, but I never did actually work for Boeing. But McDonnell Aircraft was big, ugly, and stupid too.
That's a big company. Yeah.
And so we've got just a bevy of idiots playing with $100 million airplanes and my batteries. And already their solution, here's the solution, is let's crack down on shipping these perfectly safe batteries, UPS and FedEx and stuff. We're going to have to get a license to ship you batteries because they can't make an airplane trolley across the ground after it lands without exploding into flames.
Well, and it's good that they don't put our batteries on those airplanes because they probably end up crashing and burning. Not our batteries' fault.
Yeah, our batteries wouldn't set them off.
Batteries would. Theirs would. That's right.
What's the solution? It's so trivial. I'm embarrassed to mention it, but how about 9 cells, guys? I know it offends your sense of even numbers, but if you add 1 cell to it, your open circuit voltage is up over 32. You're not fully charging the batteries.
Right.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
EVTV battery survival note. Undercharge them a little bit. Give up that 400 yards of range.
That last bit of range. That's right.
And save your $10,000 battery pack.
Right. You've heard it before.
We charge ours using the same recipe to 3.55 volts.
Right.
And the same termination. And what does that do? We don't have 3.38 volt cells. No. Ours come in at 3. If you check your cells the next day after charging them Jack's way, they'll be between 3.32 and 3.34.
Yeah.
If they're over 3.34, probably drop it to 3.5 volts from 3.55. And I do that a lot. If the cells are a little bit, random capacity or something, I'll do them at 3.
Undercharge them just a little more. Yeah.
What is your purpose in getting exactly 100% state of charge? You're trying to do what? Let me tell you a little dirty secret. I didn't invent this. General Motors, in the Volt, you have 10.5 kilowatt hours of electricity to make it 35 miles.
Yeah.
You want to know what size your pack is? 16.5 kilowatts.
That's a lot of undercharging.
You've got another 60%.
Yeah.
Or another 15 to 20 miles. They don't even let you use.
That's right.
Because they want those batteries to last. I'm guessing, I'm just going to pull some numbers out of the air here. You're from California, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess 10 years.
That's right.
Or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first.
That's right. The entire warranty period.
And I admit I'm making this number up out of whole cloth.
I'd never seen it before. Yeah.
So the Leaf guys are sniggering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get 70 miles out of their 20 kilowatt hour pack. It's 26. Count the cells, do the math.
Yeah.
Nissan's doing the same thing.
Undercharging,
Not as much, but they don't let you take it completely down to zero discharge.
Right.
But you never charge those cells at all. Tesla's got a better strategy. They've got a 2 modes of charging. You've got a button.
Oh, that's right.
You can fully charge them, or you can almost fully charge them.
Yeah.
Guess which position you have to be in to fully charge them? Trick question. Neither one.
Neither one.
They're not going to let you fully charge those batteries
no matter
either
what.
time.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
That's a huge pack.
but it makes it an interesting question. You can fully charge them or almost fully charge them. but not really.
Not. Yeah.
And that's the survival technique with lithium batteries. Don't ever fully charge them, and don't ever fully discharge them.
Right.
And that's the story. We bottom balance them. Now, you don't need to bottom balance. You don't need to balance them at all. But if you bottom balance them, and you do get in an emergency situation or somebody, human error, you do over discharge your cells,
Yeah, you're in a lot better shape.
I normally get them back.
Yeah, you're in a lot better shape.
Might have a little capacity decrease, but because they all got there at the same time, they can't kill each other. You can't go into current reversal through a cell.
Right, right.
And so I've gotten away with it a lot because I had a bottom balance.
That's right.
That's the reason for the bottom balancing. If you do overrun your car,
Yeah. They won't eat each
they're
other.
probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
Put it on a slow charge, see what happens, but you're probably going to get them all back.
Right, yeah, and we usually do.
And if you had them carefully bottom balanced,
Yeah.
you usually will.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening with the Dreamliner. I outed them in the blog, but I can't get the word to them. And they're going to actually hurt somebody with the tactic they've got now. Because they still don't get the basic problem.
Right.
And they admit
Overcharging.
they do not know what's actually causing this. But they think it's the Yasua batteries. I don't know anything about Yasua batteries. They may be crap. But that's not what's causing this problem.
No, they can't take what they're doing to them.
The bottom line is, you and solar guys take note, you can't trickle charge lithium cells. That dog don't hunt. I've known it for some time. It explains some other things. I love these little flashlights. Lee Moorhead turned me on to these.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They're proud of them. They're kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But these little brass
Yeah, the little brass ones,
flashlights.
yeah.
I mean, they're bright as hell. They use one little 14440 cell, like a AAA.
Yeah, right, like a AAA.
You can get a cheap charger for them. If you charge them for a day, they're fully charged. You can put them back in here, and they just burn bright again. If you leave it on for 3 days, they'll last about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And you're gone.
Just, yeah.
I had a Apple laptop, a Mac Pro. I've got 2 Mac Pros, not laptops, but the big
Right,
computers.
Yeah.
One of them's got 2 screens, big 30-inch screens. I don't really need a laptop around the house. I need it here, and I wouldn't do anything with it here, so I had it at the house. It was plugged in with the lid closed for 3 months.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I went over, it's kind of like tilted funny. Somebody put something under my laptop, and I picked it up, and the battery underneath, like a battery pack, had turned into Jiffy Pop and swollen up to 4 times its size. And I felt it was hotter than $700.
Yeah. That's,
So I dug it out of the laptop and saved the laptop.
yeah.
Threw that
That's
thing
why,
out in the
yeah.
driveway, ordered another battery, and I'm pleased to report it's fine. But the guys doing the charging circuitry, and one of them confessed in Battery Pros, oh, I designed ICs to keep this from happening. It's not a problem to trickle charge them. Well, now I know what the problem is. The guy designing the charge circuitry for laptops, he's done 3 different chips, thinks it's okay to trickle charge lithium cells. I'm sorry, it's not, and I'm not guessing.
Yeah.
If you
Seen
think it's okay to trickle charge a lithium cell, yeah, we got a difference of opinion. That doesn't matter. The problem is you're real wrong, and you can burn something down to the ground with your cell phone or laptop battery. If you do it, don't leave it plugged into the charger. I've got some camera battery chargers, and I've had some power tool chargers that are smart enough not to do this. By the way, DeWalt has a patent on a power tool charger,
Yeah.
it bottom balances.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They think I invented bottom balancing. Okay, sure. I'll take credit for
That's
it.
right. What the heck?
It's not precisely so, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah, DeWalt's had a patent on it for years. So you cannot trickle charge a battery. You can't trickle charge a little bitty flashlight battery. You can't trickle charge a laptop battery. And if you're the guy that designs 3 chips for laptops to charge the cells, and you don't know this, that would account for my MacBook Pro battery incident.
That's right. Swelling up.
And he's explaining to me how I don't know what I'm talking about, that he's an IC designer, and you can, of course, trickle charge them. And I've got another guy explaining the same thing. He's a BMS designer.
Oh, geez.
Oh, very respected. Before you get into that line of work, kind of learn how the battery works that you're going to be designing all this stuff for.
Yeah,
it's
be
not
helpful.
that much rocket science. It's true I had an advantage.
Yeah.
The Chinese
claims.
kept sending me batteries.
Right.
And you know what the first instruction that I got with a battery for its care and use was from China with a set of Satans?
No.
Your glad acceptance is our warmest happiness.
That's right. Yeah.
Service quality. Highest service, highest quality.
Yes. That's right. I do remember.
That was the sum total of the documentation I got with my first set of batteries.
Yeah. Not much help.
I didn't even know much about lead acid batteries.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
Yeah, true enough.
we've had to learn this from the ground up with no adult supervision. And I've read everything printed on batteries since then. There are no white papers on lithium batteries. I haven't read twice. I do it 2 hours every morning. It's mostly stuff none of you would read ever. Their language is a bit stilted and boring unless you like to read about that sort of thing. It's not like reading, and half of that's drivel.
Right. Yeah.
And I can
Fill
find
up some
one that
space.
disproves another, but I've studied it hard, and when I do learn something, we go in the back and play Missouri. Show me. If it does that, let's see it do that.
Yeah. And twice would be good.
And if it can't do that, I review their procedure and my procedure and make sure I'm not doing something that I've just
Right,
missed
just
something.
missed something, yeah.
And we try it again. And I don't really ever come to much of a conclusion. It's just, how come every 6 months I measure these cells, they're the same voltage? What happened to the self-discharge?
Yeah, whatever's the self-discharge.
I still don't know. Maybe they do self-discharge. I can't find any mechanism to describe self-discharge in theory or in any white paper. I can't find a mechanism in the cell where they would do that, adequately explained, other than the Heisenberg principle of entropy. Things get older.
Yeah, right. They deteriorate.
They get older quicker in the heat.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just like random shit. And then when I measure them, they don't seem to do that.
Yeah, we take them out after storing them, a couple of years once.
All right, and we got one set of cells on his third car.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they just don't do anything different. We're always hopeful that they will.
I'm open to anything.
Yeah,
just
that's right.
just give me the steps where I can reproduce what you're saying, and I'll go try them. And if they work out that way, we're buddies.
That's it.
John Hardy did that, and I correspond with him twice a week ever since then. It's Damian McGuire has some very earthy test approaches, but
Yeah,
I'm on board.
We can see them.
I can see
You
'em.
gotta love them. Gotta love when a wrench
when
melts.
he gets done, he ain't guessing, is he?
No, that's right. The wrench melts or it
He
doesn't.
knows what color that spanner's going to turn. And so, all that's good. Typing everything you know because somebody told it to you, I'm sorry, I'm way past that. It's been good, but not that good.
Yeah.
Because I busted you too many times. If you're an expert and know all about it, I'm sorry. Show me. Give me the steps. I'll go try it.
Yep. We'll check it out.
We'll see. So that's that. But I sure got off on a diatribe. We're going to have these cells are going to come right up to the top, and I'm going to put a piece of polycarbonate here. This is not so much to show off. I got a little problem clearance with the hood.
You don't have so much
But
room.
I think I can get a piece of polycarbonate in there, and it'll look like I'm showing off the batteries. This one will have a lid on it. I can do 56 up here. We'll do 44 in the back. We're going to use our, what do they call it, rocket? Bed liner, just to make them black and kind of textured, and
yeah, they're cool.
They should disappear. Our J1772 will come in there with the fuel port, and I'm going to put a Brusa. Since we're going to be a 330 volt pack, one of those Brusa chargers will be perfect.
That's right.
And I'll put that right there, and maybe use one of those cable sets from Azure Dynamics to put the J1772 over there. And we'll probably mount a DC to DC converter also up here. And so I'll set a couple terminals up here so the charger and the DC to DC converter can get full pack voltage. And that would give me a handy place to get voltage for a heater, perhaps. Who knows? And so we can get most of our equipment up front here. We'll have our motor and our inverter in the back.
In the back, yeah.
And our generalized electric vehicle control unit somewhere handy.
Right, that makes sense.
Where I can swap it out easy. And we're going to have a cooling system. And so that's pretty much the plan. What else would we need in a vehicle like this? We need you to get these working again. Somehow when these would work, our whole electrical system would blow up. Brain never did quite get that.
No, this aftermarket lights were kind of crazy.
But see, I got new rubber, I got new paint. This is coming along.
good.
It's not going to be quite as Jeff Southern in Kennesaw, Georgia, is really doing
some
fine attention to detail.
Yeah.
And hopefully, actually, I happen to know he's going to bring that to the electric vehicle conversion convention in August.
Oh, cool.
There's to be drag races there. This is very unfair. I kind of advised him to the AC50, which I think was the best package at the time and still the best package for this vehicle. But then I'm driven by circumstances beyond my control, Jeff, to put in a 120 kilowatt Siemens AC motor.
Yeah.
That I think I've got an edge.
Yeah, that's right. And a heads-up drag race.
We'll line them up and see.
That's right.
Hopefully I'll have this rolling by then. But I'm very encouraged by Colin Kidder and Ed Clausen's progress. Paul Dove and Mr. House down in Huntsville have been otherwise indisposed, but promise they're going to get on it. They have. They've got the motor and controller set up on a test bench, and they're going to do some things and hopefully have some improvements to the code and various things.
Nice.
Get on with some of that, and we should have 1 and then 10 available VW adapters to put a Siemens on a VW transaxle. I think it's only turnabout being fair play. I'm going to ask Seb to noodle this a little bit, and I'm going to actually got my cousin working on the coupler itself.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think we should adapt the net gain and HP EVS motors to the E-gear drive for those of you that want to swing the other way.
Right, get a DC set up,
so that's some of the development projects we've got going here. And we continue to stay after it. This is our next build, and I think it's going to be a good one. We still have to do some final testing on Speedster Nippon and delivery, but it looks pretty good. maybe we'll take them for a drive in that this week or next.
There we go.
If I get a little spring weather,
I know, it just keeps
it's the
going up
middle
and
of
down.
March and it's not
Nothing yet, hasn't broken.
It's not playing spring for me, but anyway, that's where we're at on the VW thing. I think it's going to be a fun project. I like this little Jeep-like vehicle, and we're going to turn it from a very easy, very nice build into a very difficult, probably a mess, but we'll be able to tweak it as we go. You know, I finally wrestled that heating system on the Escalade to a draw.
Yeah.
We put in a bigger tank, put on some blankets and stuff. It's working crackerjack
Yeah,
now.
it's working nice. Yeah.
So sometimes it's just persistence, just keep swinging at it. It's an exercise in serial exercise in small problem solving events. And so we'll attack this the same way. At some point, I'm confident we will have a car that drives, and instead of it coming out just the way I know it will, I don't know what it's going to feel like. It could be the biggest slug on the planet, and it could be a rocket. In fact, it could tear the car up just with the power.
That's right.
Part of Romancing the Stone, another day in the life at EVTV. Stay with us.
We'll see you then.
There you go.
Wow. We need.
Yellow.
Yes, that is.
Yellow car.
Yeah, that's fire truck yellow. Golf ball. Never lose that. Never lose that car in a parking lot.
Remember, I used to play with yellow golf balls.
I know.
Because I could
You can find them.
Well, I like yellow. My eyes are just tuned to it. Anyway, that's going to be a thing done the hard way.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't
But
pick the easy route.
I think it's going to be nice. Jeff Southern has been doing a thing. He's a little bit more like you, a little better fitment and finish, and he's painting it on, getting all the rust out. I fear his thing is going to look better than mine. See you at the airport, Jeff.
The gauntlet's thrown.
I'm going to have a Siemens in mine. And you have that cute little AC50 in yours. And I love the AC50.
I know. That's nice.
I
That's
may
a nice
advise
power
you to put
plant.
that in. I'm going to have a Siemens in mine. See you at the airport. At EVCon, we'll be drag racing. Thingo.
That's right. Thing.
Yeah. A mono with two things.
It's a thing.
We're going to take that another direction. I've talked to Seb some more. And we're going to do a adapter, I hope, that we can do this easily to mate a net gain.
Okay.
Or a Kostov or HP EVS. They all use basically the same face and the same shaft.
Same shaft diameter, yeah.
And so that's kind of a standard that's emerged for our guys. So 1 1/8 inch keyed shaft.
Right.
And
right.
What do they call it? B face or C face or something. And so I would like to mate those with an adapter plate and coupler to the E-gear drive.
Oh, okay. That would be a nice option, yeah. To have a DC alternative for the E-gear drive.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so you could do your Soliton Warp 9 E-gear drive in a front-wheel drive car. That would make a nice little package.
Yeah.
And so we will pursue that. I have a cousin working on the coupler, and
Right.
we'll get those to Seb, and he can incorporate them in his adapter design.
That'd be cool. I can't
But
wait.
He does some neat things with CNC and aluminum that I just like.
He does a great
So
job.
We're gonna so a little bit of product development here and there, and that'll keep us on our toes. Something new and different for you all, and some new options and ways to go to combine these components. My belief system is that anybody can make an electric car, and that for some time the Siemens zone in electric car ownership as far as the value proposition goes, is to do your own and avoid the labor and overhead costs that you have to pay for if somebody else builds it for you.
Someone else does it, yeah, and maybe still have support issues in
I
a brand
think
new
that
car.
can grow to exactly the degree that that gets easier and more plug and play, and more, less custom fabrication, and ergo the attention to some common adapters and
Right.
couplers and so forth for some common motors and so forth. And there's lots of secret stuff going on in the background. I know of a guy that's taking a careful look at the Siemens motor and believes that could actually be manufactured from scratch, maybe in a stackable version.
Oh, man.
A couple of improvements there.
Okay. Wow.
So it isn't me.
Okay. Yeah. Not us.
We're not going into
Not
motor
us.
design and production. No, thank you. But I'm talking to people, and so I see us emerging kind of in a weird space as a liquidator to the stars.
There you go.
To
Slightly used Botox.
well, right. That's,
Only used once.
yeah. It's gaining access to OEM quality components.
Yeah, and they've been fighting this for years.
In small lots,
Yeah.
but bigger lots than onesie twosie.
Right.
So you can have them onesie twosie.
Yep.
That's a difficult game. I have to be kind of selective. I have to be able to predict what you want to buy, or otherwise I'm stuck with
Otherwise,
it.
we're stuck with them. Yeah. Yeah.
And they do tend to want large checks to get even the 20 of them or whatever they want. Winds up being an amount of them. But in that way, we may be able to aid and abet the more plug and play type things.
Yeah.
Young Hauber is working furiously on something that's out of his normal modus operandi. Hauber likes the exotics and the hot stuff. He's doing a VW kit that he said he's going to have down to every nut and bolt. The battery boxes, you just bolt. You get a Beetle and this bolts on in a weekend.
That's plug and play.
And,
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
that's probably still the most popular single
Yeah, and
conversion is Beetle to electric.
Yeah, I guess if Seb's selling adapters, must be.
Well, the adapter is a big part of it.
Yeah.
That's the one people tend to wrestle with. And so, of course, Canadian EV has a pretty big line of adapters now. Randy, up in Canada, we've traded with him from
the first one, yeah, first car.
vehicle,
Yep.
for parts. And he's a long-time veteran, kind of doing pretty good with a little electric truck.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like a neighborhood electric vehicle, but very upscale, and they're pricey. They're $50,000.
Really? Okay.
But sells them to airports and parks and stuff like that.
Cool. Okay.
And he's doing a little bit of that to stay alive, but he's been in the EV components business and sort of pioneered we make adapters.
Right.
He'd make an adapter for somebody and keep the plans.
Got the pattern, yeah, right.
And make up several of them, and then built up a stock of them. But so I thought Matt's electric bug concept was pretty good. HPEVS, I haven't heard any more about this. They were supposed to be working on a Scion XB kit.
I saw it when I was out there in California last year. Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard any more about it. And they were going to have a kit that would, run the dials in the dash right.
Yeah.
CAN bus from the cruise controller.
Yeah, they were doing a lot of good work out there. Yeah.
And so that's, like I've said about the Escalade, it's hard to put a lot of effort into something for one of them.
Yeah, it really
To
is.
get the gas gauge. Now, if I was going to manufacture them, of course, we'd have the gas gauge represent
the battery state of charge.
Battery state of charge. But I've got an AH meter in front of me. I'm the only one going to ever drive the car.
That's right. Yeah, it's like how much effort you're going to put in it.
But in kit, if people would develop kits, that could be a much easier conversion for a lot of people.
Yep.
So I think that's the distance between us and SEMA and the hot rod world is better product development. It's easier to install and incorporate your build.
Yeah.
And tried to urge all the vendors to developers to seek that too.
Yeah, kits and what plug and play components. Yeah.
But that's a new build we're doing, and I think it'll be kind of interesting and be interesting to drive that after it's done. 2,400 pounds with a Siemens 336 volt battery pack, and liquid cooling. And,
if he gets scared of it, I'll drive it.
I might not be able to personally get in it.
But to tell you how it drives.
Brian can describe it.
Yeah, with a helmet. With a helmet.
With a helmet. It has a roll bar.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I like the thing. Yeah, that's a cool car.
I don't have anything further really. That's where we're at as of mid-March. We've got a bunch of chargers, should be here in the middle of April, and we're going to have our, hopefully, our Makina controller for that.
Right.
And I like what they're going to a Makina 2 and sort of working along the lines of Ed and Colin Kidder.
Colin, yeah.
So a little more capable, multi-controller, software and so forth. I mean, we don't have a finished controller for a vehicle I've already started.
I know.
So there's a leap of faith here.
That's right. Come on, guys.
Ed, Colin, I'm kind of betting on you guys.
I know. Come on.
That I have something to work with by the time we get the motor in and batteries and all that. And it's going to go pretty quickly, perhaps. We'll see. Stay with us. We'll be back next week.
All right. We'll see you then.